Todd, welcome back to SuperChat.
Good afternoon, Gary. How are you?
I'm just fine, sir. Always good to speak with you. You know, quite honestly, a topic we only occasionally discuss as we speak with school districts every day is that of gifted services. So I was just wondering, what array of gifted services do you offer at the schools of Northwest Local? Could you give our listeners some insight into that?
Yeah, this is a very popular question. The Northwest Local School District currently provides a self-contained English Language Arts gifted class, and it's for qualifying students in grades 4 through 5. These classes are taught by teachers certified as gifted intervention specialists, and it is a year long. When the students enter our middle school, they are also in self-contained ELA classes, and they continue through 6th through 8th grade. Again, the important part here is these kids are being taught by teachers who are certified as gifted intervention specialists. They are highly qualified in math and language arts. They receive professional development training every year, and they service the majority of the students in our district. So it's very important that they are highly qualified because we want our kids to receive the best. So as kids leave our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classes, they then move into high school, and both of our high schools are grades 9 through 12. They will continue to receive gifted services in 4 core areas. And what we do there is we schedule into our honors and AP classes. Our honors and AP classes are weighted differently. A student, instead of a 4.0, can earn up to a 5.0. At the end of the AP classes, the students take exams. And depending on how they score on exams, colleges will accept these as college credit. Very similar to what we do with our College Credit Plus kids. I also would like everybody to know that even starting in 8th grade, our students have access to Algebra 1, French, and Spanish for high school credit. So we have kids who are receiving high school credit in 8th grade. We are working as a district. We've made some changes in our elementaries because even though a kid may not qualify for gifted, we want to make sure we provide enrichment services for them. So we are doing a teaming and flooding model for our elementaries K through 5. And what is involved there is they will take assessments, and then depending on how they do in the assessment, they will move up into the enrichment part, which means they'll go above and beyond current curriculum and go to higher levels. And if they need remediation, then we set apart 45 minutes a day for remediation and enrichment. So we want it to continue K through 5. So it's a very unique program. We service a lot of children with this. Our key for us is to get them highly qualified staff trained to present it.
You know, I'm sure at one time or another, heck, any one of us as a parent has thought that our child was gifted at something. But let me ask you this. Is the measure of what qualifies or determines whether a student is gifted or not, is it purely a numeric measurement based on assessments? Is it an observation? Is it their grade point average? Is it a combination of all of these? How do they determine?
You've hit it right there. It's a combination of all. It's RIT scores that we get on assessments. We also have, with all the state testing, we have certain numbers that we look for. Maybe they didn't meet the first assessment we gave them in grades 2, 3, or 4, but then all of a sudden a state test result comes back at a high number, and we will reevaluate whether they qualify or not. It's based on teacher recommendation who sees them every day. We don't want an anxiety on a test to keep them out of gifted. We need a base of work that shows that they are truly gifted. It is difficult to qualify, but we qualify all of those who do meet what we need to have in place in order to provide gifted services. A lot of it sometimes, unfortunately, depends on funding also. The state doesn't give a whole lot of funding. So we do as much as we can and more with what funding we get. But we've got a pretty extensive system of evaluation that takes in a lot of different things.
Well, if I were to ask you to describe how a gifted student's typical day is compared to other students, does it really just come down to the level of rigor and the demands of the coursework itself? Is that the only difference?
It is rigor. It is stepped up, but you will have 4th and 5th grade kids who are being enriched and working on 6th and 7th grade standards. In other words, we don't want to decelerate them. We want to accelerate them so they can move up higher and faster. That's why we want these kids leaving 8th grade, if at all possible, to take Algebra 1 because those are the kids who will get into calculus and AP Calc and can really get all the needed things that they will need to score high on the ACT to be successful in college. But yeah, it is rigor, but it's rigor that goes above the current grade level they're at. For our fourth and fifth graders, they're actually pulled out into a class where they can challenge each other. And that's where our self-contained English language arts classes come from.
Very good. You indicated that the state doesn't provide an extraordinary amount of funding for this, but you get her done anyway. But I do have a question for you. Is it a requirement that a school district provide gifted services and the instructors to support that, or is this purely an optional thing that is pursued on the part of a school district?
It is a requirement, but it's also things that we can make optional and that we take it above and beyond what is required. There is actually a gifted grade on the state report card that the school district receives. And you don't want your gifted kids to have to sit there and wait for everybody to catch up. We want them to continue going on. And when you get into some of our data, that's exactly what it measures.
I understand. Very good description, Todd. Well, let me shift gears on you. The state school report cards or rankings are out. How did Northwest Local come in this time around? What can you tell us?
Well, one of the main areas we look for in our state report card is the value added area. And I'm not sure if everybody in the community or our parents understand this. So I don't mean to insult anybody's intelligence, but I want to just give them a little bit of background to let them know what it is. Value added is an analysis to help educators measure the impact of schools and teachers and what they have on students from one year to the next. In other words, when a student enters fourth grade and they leave fourth grade, have they grown one full year? Ohio is one state that selected value-added measure. It provides educators with information on how they can use the data to focus instruction. It creates a complete picture of student learning. And that's important because back when you and I went to school, it was a little different in that it was teacher-led instruction from the front of the classroom. So kids would walk into a classroom, get the same notes, get the same lecture, take the test, move on to the next unit. What we're trying to do with these value-added results is to differentiate instruction so that you have different things going on within the classroom. You might have groups of 5 to 7 students and each group working on something different. So when you look at value-added scores, a school district is measured on the following. So you get an overall value-added score, then you get a value-added score for your gifted students. You get a value added for your lowest 20% students, and that's the lowest 20% in the district who scored on the state test. You get an overall grade, and then you get a student with disabilities grade. Well, the Northwest Local School District in gifted got an A for value added. For lowest 20%, we got another A for value added. For overall, we got an A for value added. And for our students with disabilities, we got a C. So the way they calculate it, that's a B for the district. So how do you put that in simple terms and translate it? The district and the state want the goal of everybody getting a C. That means that students are growing one full year. Anybody who gets a B or an A is growing the student more than a year. So to get these results is outstanding. It shows that all our students, some of our lower students, our middle students, and our higher students are all growing more than 1 year, and it's exactly where we want to head.
You know, Todd, some states that we encounter have a rather, what I would just call, ineffective rating system. They just haven't worked the kinks out yet for grading or ranking school districts. In your opinion, is the school rating system used by the state of Ohio, is it solid? Is it a good one? I guess I'm also asking, how could it be changed possibly to be maybe more accurate or reflective of a school district's performance? Or are you pretty satisfied with it?
I mean, to answer it honestly, we absolutely think it is failing the students in the state of Ohio. We are on year 3 of having the 3rd different assessment that assesses our kids. That we look at the standards, we get our kids accustomed to what the standards are, they change from year to year, then the assessment changes from year to year. And like I said, Ohio is on their 3rd year in a row of having a different assessment. We have congressmen standing up in Columbus saying it's not fair to kids. We have the state superintendent saying, I'm not sure what a school district set of parents and community members can think of these scores because they're not given what they need in order to be successful. We change it on them every year. There does need to be a system of accountability, but we need a common system that stays in place for time so we can compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Right now, we're comparing bananas to pears to apples to everything else because it changes every year we come back. So when I look at the report card, there are several other measures besides value added, but to me, value added is the most important because no matter what the testing system was, it shows our kids are growing.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, and I appreciate your candor there, but as we talk to superintendents and administrators around the country, Ohio is not alone on this. And I have been told by other superintendents that the process used by legislatures tends to be somewhat gamey in that as soon as the schools figure out how it all works, it gets changed by the legislators. And it just seems like its validity is kind of thrown out the window. And it's so fluid and unpredictable. What we are seeing and hearing is consistent with what your thoughts are on this. Maybe they'll get it right sooner or later. That's all we can.
There at least seems to be an effort from the state. They've set up different meetings across the counties where people can go and talk about what's going on in the state of Ohio. I know we have our Capitol Conference, which is all school districts and their board members. We are going to the legislatures up there in November, and we're going to talk to them about what's going on, what we think is wrong. They've already sent out surveys gathering our input. But again, they are in agreement with us that the validity is not where it needs to be. But, we gotta try to provide the professional development to the best of our ability for our teachers so they can help our students be successful and hopefully someday have some consistency on what they put out there.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like them opening the door to this and recognizing it and accepting it, I suppose, is a step in the right direction. So maybe things will begin to come more into line. And as I pointed out, not just Ohio. Well, Todd, your Colerain High School band was involved in some competitive events. And how did they do against competing schools? Can you tell me about that?
It's the competition season for marching bands. So Colerain High School won Best Guard, Best Percussion, and Best General Effect, Best Music, and first place at the Class 4A competition at Taylor High School past couple of weekends. They also got Best Overall Guard and Reserve Grand Champion. So they have been doing very well. 14 bands competed in the Taylor competition in 5 different classes from 3 different states. And they also got to be entertained by the University of Cincinnati and the Bearcat Marching Band. So they continue to do an outstanding job as we get into competition season. You think about it, they're at Friday night games performing, and then they spend Saturday and Sunday doing competition. So, we give our athletes a lot of credit and accolades for what they do and how much time they spend. Nobody should think that the band members and they're practicing, it's just as much, if not more. So they are to be commended on their great performance.